Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakka Jacob. The Prime Minister today made his most direct attack on the opposition on A, the freebie culture, and B, what he called a perennial negative mindset. He said people who promise things like free petrol and free diesel and free electricity are actually robbing from future generations. He also compared the recent black shirt protests of the Congress party to that of black magic. It's clear, and the question we're asking tonight on Brass Tacks, on the talking point, is this: has the Prime Minister drawn the lines for Battleground 2024? Is it going to be the politics of freebies versus the politics of development? Is it going to be the politics of protest versus the politics of performance that is going to be the median line, the dividing line between the government and the opposition in the battle for 2024?
ये लोग भी अब काले जादू की तरफ मुड़ते नजर आ रहे हैं। कितना ही काला जादू कर ले, जनता का विश्वास अब उन पर दोबारा कभी नहीं बन पाएगा।
Prime Minister Modi at his combative best, obliterating the opposition on a range of issues. Days after Congress MPs and leaders wore black clothes to protest rising prices, Prime Minister Modi accused them of resorting to black magic.
अभी हमने 5 अगस्त को देखा है कि कैसे काले जादू को फैलाने का भरपूर प्रयास किया गया। ये लोग सोचते हैं कि काले कपड़े पहनकर उनकी निराशा हताशा का काल समाप्त हो जाएगा, लेकिन उन्हें पता नहीं है कि वो कितनी ही झाड़ फूंक कर ले, कितना ही काला जादू कर ले, अंधविश्वास कर ले, जनता का विश्वास अब उन पर दोबारा कभी नहीं बन पाएगा।
Prime Minister Modi also reacted to the raging debate over freebies, saying such tactics will prevent the country from becoming self-reliant.
अगर राजनीति में ही स्वार्थ होगा तो कोई भी आकर पेट्रोल डीजल भी मुफ्त देने की घोषणा कर सकता है। ऐसे कदम हमारे बच्चों से उनका हक छीनेंगे, देश को आत्मनिर्भर बनने से रोकेंगे।
The charge was countered by Aam Aadmi Party convener Arvind Kejriwal, who has been accused of promoting freebie culture.
टैक्स पेयर के साथ धोखा इससे नहीं होता कि हम उनके बच्चों को अच्छी और फ्री शिक्षा देते हैं। टैक्स पेयर के साथ धोखा इससे नहीं होता कि हम देश के लोगों का फ्री में अच्छा इलाज कराते हैं। टैक्स पेयर के साथ धोखा तब होता है जब अपने दोस्तों के कर्जे माफ करते हैं।
Responding to the opposition's criticism over the centre's Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, Prime Minister Modi said an attempt is being made to sully the occasion.
इस पवित्र अवसर को अपवित्र करने का प्रयास किया गया है। ऐसे लोगों की मानसिकता देश को भी समझना जरूरी है।
So has Prime Minister Modi succeeded in silencing politics of negativity?
All right, full panel joining us on the talking point this evening here on Brass Tacks. Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Adil Singh Boparai, Spokesperson of the Congress Party, Dr. Shantanu Sen, Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament of the TMC, Jasmine Shah, Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, Mohandas Pai, Chairman of Aaron Capital Partners and former HR Head of Infosys, and Kailash Adhikari, Managing Director of Governance Now, also joining us. Let me start with Sanju Verma. Has the Prime Minister drawn the battle lines for 2024? Is it going to be politics of freebies on the one side versus politics of performance, as the Prime Minister put it? And why should we believe that this is going to be the main fault line for 2024? Because after all, we have seen in numerous state elections, freebies have worked.
You know, Zakka, I want to make a couple of things very clear at the outset. There is a difference between a freebie and a subsidy. You know, when you give a subsidy to a target section of the population which is underprivileged, which is poor, which is needy, which is marginalized. You are giving them an economic incentive for long-term betterment. That is called a subsidy. Now, freebie is when you're giving a candy to actually influence the voter mindset. And that is precisely what Prime Minister Narendra Modi was hinting at. Ahead of Punjab election, Kejriwal said 300 units of electricity free, rupees 1,000 to anyone who's, 18 and above and is unemployed. So basically free electricity, free water, free public transport. My problem is this, and I speak for the Bharatiya Janata Party. My problem is this. Do you want to have a right mix of welfare politics and reform? Certainly, yes. With a 1.4 billion population, 140 crore people, there are people who are below the poverty line. They need hand-holding. You will have to have an element of subsidy. But to try and brazenly win elections, saying that पानी भी मुफ्त दूंगा, बिजली भी मुफ्त दूंगा, सड़कें भी मुफ्त में बनाऊंगा, रोजगार भी मुफ्त दूंगा.
Okay.
I think that is trying to influence the voter mindset, and I think the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of this. And 7 days back, the Supreme Court actually said that a panel needs to be formed to ensure that we do away with the freebie culture. And mind you, Zakka, 10 seconds.
Quickly, please, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
The Aam Aadmi Party is actually going to the Supreme Court saying that please do away with the PIL, which has called for denouncement of the freebie culture. So that is the crux of what Aam Aadmi Party's politics is all about.
Okay, let me ask Jasmine Shah of the Aam Aadmi Party. In Punjab, where your party had promised free power up to 300 units, the total cost of providing free power to Punjab is 15,000 crores. The overall debt of the state of Punjab is 2.5 lakh crores. In one of the top 3 heavily indebted states in this country, why are you adding another burden of 15,000 crores, Jasmine Shah?
Zakka, first let me correct you. The data is absolutely wrong. The cost for free power is not 15,000 crores. It's around 3,000 crores in Punjab. Having said that, let me also say that, hearing the BJP spokesperson and our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it seems that they seem more and more silly and confused by the day as we talk about freebies and Revdis. Why do I say that? Just today, their own CM, Yogi Adityanath, announced free bus travel for women in Uttar Pradesh. A couple of months back, the Himachal Pradesh government under BJP announced free power in rural household. The Goa government of BJP has announced free water. So, this is just almost like a response to something that they do not have. They seem hypocritical at one side. They know that at the end of the day, governments exist to use taxpayers' money, and even the poorest people pay taxes for the welfare of the people. Let the people decide what benefits they want. At the same side, I will tell you what is the wastage of taxpayer money that the Prime Minister alluded to. In the last 5 years, as per the data placed in the last Parliament session, 10 lakh crores of NPAs have been written off. There are 10,300 willful defaulters in the last 5 years itself. Tell me how many of them have been put behind jail? Has even one person been put behind jail? That is the freebie culture we need to end.
Okay.
Taking people's money and spending it on friends of BJP, which is what we call as dostwar.
No, 1 second. I have 6 guests on this panel. I will go to each of them one by one, please.
Okay. Welfare of the people
All right.
is true democracy. That is the welfare model that we stand
Okay, let me ask Mohandas Pai. Every state, every political party is well within its right, at least as the law exists, as the Election Commission Model Code of Conduct exists as of today. They are well within their right to promise, and even promise the moon if need be, to electors. And if electors so choose, then they are free to vote for such and such a party. The question that people like Jasmine Shah of the AAP, Congress, other opposition parties are asking is, BJP itself has not done much to eliminate subsidies. There are still food subsidies. BJP says 800 million people were provided free food during the pandemic. That is a subsidy. Fertilizer subsidy is still very much intact in this country. So isn't it double speak when on the one hand you're railing against freebie culture and Revdi culture, but at the same time the subsidy ecosystem is very much intact in India?
Zakka, let me correct the gentleman. He's lying on a national TV to say 10 lakh crores has been written off to everybody. It is called a technical write-off, where the banks write off in the books to take the tax benefit but keep it alive for recovery And as per the latest data, out of the total NPS in the country of 15 lakh crores, about 6.5 lakh crores have been recovered, and the balance is under recovery. Ultimately, 3 to 4 lakh crores may not be recovered, maybe 4 to 5 lakh crores may not be recovered. But then banking is a risk business where you collect deposits from everybody, pass on the cost of the bad debt to everybody, and much of the bad debt has been given to some 10, 15 corporates, the UPA era. I hope the gentleman stop this lying on national TV. And second, in Punjab, if I'm right, Zakka, you must look at data. The freebies for the power now of the 300 units is 3,000 crores or so. That is correct. But there's already been a freebie to farmers of something like 4 to 5,000 crores. And Punjab is in deep trouble. And the Aam Aadmi Party also said they'll give 1,000 rupees a month to all the women or something like that. And they are the extreme example of trying to buy the voter by saying, I'll give free power, free water, free this, free this, free this. I mean, as it is the grandfather's money. It is the taxpayers' money. And much of the tax in this country comes from the top 20, 30% of the population. And I don't see why so many people have to pay taxes for an anarchist party like them to give it away to people to win an election. That's why I think it's important for political leaders to mobilize public opinion. Now, you spoke about subsidies. The total subsidies in this country is about 7 lakh crores. All right? It's a lot of money, 7 lakh crores. There is subsidy on food. This year it could be 2 lakh crores. And subsidy on fertilizer, 2 lakh crores. Subsidy on interest, 50,000 crores in the union budget. 4.5 lakh crores possibly in union budget. And then the subsidy on power across the country, 1 lakh crore. Subsidy on water, there's 1 lakh crore. Then there's a job program which costs 1 lakh crore. There's food subsidy by the state, another 50,000 crore. You add up all the 7 lakh crores. Like Sanju Verma said, if you give it to people who deserve it, who are poor, like the DBT program or the food program, which is largely successful, it helps them improve the quality of life. But if you give it to different sections of society who are relatively well off or don't deserve it, or don't make it contingent upon a particular time, then I think, you're just giving this freebie culture. Like the Aam Aadmi Party has done in Delhi. It promised in Goa, it lost. It promised in Punjab and they won because of other reasons. Like that 1,000 rupees for every woman per month, right? You saw it in the manifesto, right?
Yeah.
No, those are buying votes. I think we should mobilize public opinion to say that certain areas where benefits are given, subsidies for the poor.
Respond to that.
No, one second. I'm going turn by turn. So let me go to Dr. Shantanu Sen of the TMC. Dr. Sen, the question that's being asked is, what is the point if political parties are promising free rice, free color TV, free wet grinder, free washing machine? I mean, this is not just an outright bribe to the voter ahead of elections, but more importantly, this is exactly what freebie culture is. That you have made this into some kind of Robin Hood kind of arrangement where the state continues to be the MyBap, it continues to give these absolutely non-essential things, and that too to the people who are not the most deserving. And then the bill adds up. As Mohandas Pai said, the total subsidy bill for the union budget this year is 7.5 lakh crores. Somebody has to foot the bill. And in the case of India, it is the tax-paying population. Less than 10% of the population of India pays direct taxes. It is that population that is footing all of this bill. Dr. Shantanu Sen.
See, so far my belief goes, it goes by the manifesto of the party, it goes by the need of that particular state or that particular area where the election is taking place. It goes by the need of the people of that particular area. But to be very truthful to ourselves, you just cannot compare giving free rice with giving colored TV. Because right to food is the basic right of a person, of an individual. Right to health, right to education, these are the basic rights of an individual of the country. But none of our country is having the right to a color TV or right to a washing machine. So in one go, you just cannot compare rice with color TV. See, in our state of, so far the state government, so far the central government is concerned, the actual fact is, they have given so much of promises before coming in the power in 2014, and almost all of those promises were found to be false. Like giving 15 lakhs rupees per account, like giving 2 crores job per year, and so on and so more. But so far the state government of West Bengal is concerned, like our government, what it has promised before election, they have done even much more than what they have promised. And so far the free rice giving to the people is concerned, yes, our government is supplying free ration to each and every individual, unlike central government which has given to the people only during COVID pandemic.
Okay.
Our state government of West Bengal is providing free health for all. Our state government is providing free education for all, and these are the basic needs. If the population at large of one particular state is getting free food, free health, and free education, these are the basic indicators for the development of our particular state or one particular country is concerned. But on the contrary, what we are getting used to, the skyrocketing of essential commodities, price of essential commodities. The farmers are committing suicide. Prices of medicines are getting high. People are not getting proper access to their proper treatment. They are not getting proper food. The farmers are on road.
Okay, you've made that point. Let me go to Adil Boparai now. Adil Boparai, the second issue that the Prime Minister touched upon in his speech today was this perennial negative mindset as exemplified, according to him, by the black shirt protests which the Congress party and other opposition parties took out last week. Now, the question that's being asked is, for I think a good week to 10 days, the Congress party was asking in Parliament for a discussion on price rise. The government was saying the finance minister was indisposed. She was suffering from COVID. And then on the day she came and replied, both in the Lok Sabha and in the Rajya Sabha, what did the Congress party do? They walked out. I mean, if you want to put the government on the mat, as is your right as an opposition party in a functioning democracy, then by all means you should do that inside Parliament. What is the point of having black shirt protests outside of Parliament, creating a law and order situation in a place there is 144, and not listening to the finance minister after having asked for an entire week and held up parliamentary proceedings for an entire week for the finance minister and a discussion on price rise?
Zakka, I hope you'll give me adequate time to respond. The BJP and their associates have earned a PhD in hypocrisy. And the civics and political science which I study never taught me that you can't protest on the streets. Street protest is a legitimate form of democratic protest, and to show and to seek accountability from the government. Now, I wish Mr. Modi's teleprompter could tell us that the price of petrol has gone up from 73 to 97 rupees over the past 2 years. The price of diesel has gone up from 66 to 90 rupees. The price of LPG has gone up from 500 to 1,000 rupees. The price of salt has gone up from 18 to 24 rupees. The price of dal has gone up from 90 to 110 rupees. The price of soya bean oil has gone up from 92 to 162 rupees. The price of sarson ka tel has gone up from 110 to 175 rupees. The price of tea has gone up from 212 to 282 rupees. When will Mr. Modi's teleprompter talk about the price rise? People like you and I are reeling under price rise. Maybe the likes of the Adanis and the Ambanis are not. Income inequality is widening. Unemployment is at a sky high. Will Mr. Modi talk about all this, or will he simply indulge in inanities? And why I say hypocrisy, it was the same BJP which was distributing rice, wheat, and salt packets on the eve of the UP elections with Mr. Modi's photograph. Was Mr. Mohandas Pai shouting from the rooftops at that point in time that why are you wasting public money? Why are you wasting taxpayers' money? No, because it doesn't suit the likes of Mr. Pai. The core issue today is price rise and unemployment. And I sincerely hope that the Prime Minister finds time and addresses these two challenges which his countrymen are grappling with.
One second, Mr. Pai, I'm coming back to you, but I want to get Kailash Adhikari also to make his opening comments. Then we'll open this debate up. Kailash Adhikari, the example that's being cited by the likes of an Arvind Kejriwal, other opposition leaders, is even countries, developed countries in the Western world like France, Germany, etc., provide for free education and free healthcare for their citizens. So if developed countries can do that, and in any case for a developing country like ours, when you want foreign investors to come and invest, when you want foreign companies to come here and start factories and start service centers and so on, you need a skilled workforce. So investing in healthcare and education for a skilled workforce is cannot be seen as in the same light as a freebie like a free wet grinder or a free color TV or the likes. Is there a merit in that argument, Kailash?
Not at all, Zakka. Firstly, a developed country and a developing country, the economics is very different. I'm a double postgraduate in accounting and finance and economics from London School of Economics. So those are very, different parameters, Zakka. Firstly, in a developing economy, and that too with the size and the scale of population of our country, we are 20 times of United Kingdom. Firstly, let us remember that. And, the world and we being as neighbors are seeing the best example, Zakka, of our neighbor Sri Lanka with the kind of tax off that was announced during the 2 years of the pandemic and what that island country has now turned into. I mean, the country is on the verge of bankruptcy, even though the debt of that country is less than the debt of most of the Indian listed companies. So, beginning that, Zakka, it's very simple to understand that like an individual or like a company, how they manage their finances, although I'm not comparing a nation and an individual and a company, but a nation and a state also has to manage its finances. If there is income, there are expenses. We have to see at one point of time, since we are a developing economy, and the gentleman who spoke before me, and he was listing out how the prices of certain commodities have gone up. India at 1960 was different, India at 1980 was different, India in 2000 was different, and India in 2022 was different. The income, the purchasing power of individuals has also gone up over the period of years. If you're just listing out the rise in the prices of certain commodities, the income has also gone up. So we must understand that. Secondly, Zakka, rather than announcing freebies or ye muft le lo, wo muft le lo, aap kabil banao na. You should come out with schemes which provide the increase and the incremental income in the hands of the individuals so that they're able to afford it. Because at the end of the day, a state or a nation has to manage its finances well. Otherwise, there'll be a debt burden. Okay. Like in the case of Sri Lanka, like in the case of Pakistan. Why are we not learning from that?
Okay, let me go back to the political spokespersons. Sanju Verma, I'll start with you. The point that Adil Boparai made, the BJP made this thing about it, saying that we had served 800 million people free food through 2 years of the pandemic. There were pictures of sacks of rice and grain with Mr. Modi's photograph being distributed before the UP election. So isn't that a subsidy? Isn't that Revdi culture?
Zakka, a lot of allegations have been made, and, your question and some of the allegations, I'll just quickly, without wasting too much time, respond to each one of them pointedly. There's a difference between subsidy and a freebie. You have to have welfare economics and reforms. I have already mentioned that in my opening remarks. I will just tell the Aam Aadmi Party, taking a cue from what Mohandas Pai said, please educate yourself, learn the difference between write-off and waiver. A write-off of 10 lakh crore does not mean that the banks have given up their right to recover dues from the borrowers. It is simply a technical below-the-line adjustment. So do not try and portray a 10 crore write-off as a 10 crore waiver. And by the way, 10 lakh crore. By the way, the other very important point, I'm tired of listening to this debate on inflation. People need to educate themselves. World food prices are at their highest level since 1970. Soya bean prices, rice, wheat, maize, corn has gone up by anywhere between 48 to 57%. This is not Sanju Verma saying. This is the food price index internationally, measured by the FPPI index. And despite food prices going up by as high as 48 to 57%, India has managed to rein in food inflation on an average at less than 7%. The other important thing, people said that, the most important talking point is unemployment. Yes, of course. But let me tell you one thing, Zakka. When people talk of unemployment, they fail to very conveniently mention, and the Congress party is known to indulge in half-truths. Let me tell them 19 lakh crore has been given to 35 crore entities via Mudra Yojana. It is the world's largest self-employment scheme, and 75,000 startups. Now there are 75. Zakka, can you please stop this man from cackling? I did not disturb him.
Adil, let's have a serious debate, please. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, please stop
What do
making
you
a fool of
expect me
yourself.
to do, Zakka?
Stop making a fool of yourself. Zakka,
Okay, Sanju, if you've concluded, can I now go on to?
No, may I take? No, I
Zakka, can I come in, please?
Yeah,
I need my
10
20
seconds more because
more.
I have to go back. I have to go to Jasmine Shah. Yes.
Yes.
10 seconds
and the
more.
other very important point, Zakka, is that forget the Mudra Yojana. If you look at the EPFO data, every month 13 lakh
Zakka, can I
subscribers
come
are
in,
getting
please?
added. Zakka, this is not fair.
No. Well, one second. You finish your point, ma'am. You don't get distracted by what others are saying. You finish your point. And
Shut up. Stop tackling.
Yeah.
You've lost elections. All you're good for is coming to TV debates and trying to throw a punch. Fine. Let him tackle. चलिए हंसना शुरू कीजिए. अपनी बेइज्जती खुद करवाने का बहुत शौक है. चलिए. Let him first start to the finish. Let him first do
Zakka,
what
can
he's
I come in,
doing.
please?
Let him be the clown that he is. I will speak after he stops behaving like a clown on national
okay,
television.
so one second. So let me take that opportunity. Let me ask Jasmine
I-
Shah.
I-
One second.
my
Let me
10
ask.
seconds.
Let me ask Jasmine Shah.
My 10 seconds.
Gujarat.
Zakka, my 10
One second, ma'am. I'll come back to you. We have another 15 minutes on the debate. Jasmine Shah, the Arvind Kejriwal, the Delhi Chief Minister, was in Gujarat today. Has been going to Gujarat over the last many weeks. In Gujarat, also, you have promised free power to the tune of 300 units every month. Again, in that state, if you have to give free power every year, the cost to the exchequer will be 8,700 crores. This, again, many are saying, is an example of the Revdi culture.
You know, it's very interesting, and that's why I started this debate, Zakka, by saying that BJP is so confused about this entire definition that until Aam Aadmi Party is giving something, it is Revdi. The moment Yogi Adityanath or some BJP state government starts announcing the same thing, it becomes a subsidy. So, you know, at the end of the day, let the people of this country decide. The people of the country today have voted for Arvind Kejriwal and the welfare model of Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi and Punjab. They'll soon do so in Gujarat because they know that at the end of the day, giving a vote to a party that spends on the people rather than spends on their friends. You know, I will respond to BJP spokesperson Mr. Mohandas Pai because he said that, you know, there is write-off and waiver and all that. Tell me corporate tax, you know, that was cut. 1.5 lakh crore of Revdi was given to corporates. How many jobs have been created, sir, in the last 3 years
I will
since
tell
this
you the
corporate tax?
I will tell you the data
You know,
because
all
you
this
must know
kind
the
of
data, my friend.
you know, for
And let's
Mr.
go to
Mr. Adani's group, the loans have been restructured to the extent of 15,000 crores. Interest has been waived off. So, ये सारा चीज भी write off है, waiver है. Please put your jargons into this. The people of the country know that at the end of the day, they want free and
Zakka.
quality education. Do you know that today, as on today, the Assam government has hiked the fees of government school students in Assam? Where is your opposition to that? Do you want government school students to pay fees, or do you want the money to be going into the pockets of your friends? So that is the welfare model that needs to be debated.
Okay.
Don't
Mohandas
start
Pai,
what-
Zakka.
respond. When the corporate tax was cut, I think
Zakka.
from 25 or 26% to 22%, 1.5 lakh crores is the savings that corporates made. But where is that money? Has that money been
Zakka.
plowed back to the people who
Zakka.
most need it? Yes, Mr. Pai.
Zakka, the gentleman is again lying. Let me explain. One, when the corporate tax was cut to 25%, tax collection has gone up by 35%. Last year was a record tax collection last year, which was partly affected by COVID. Corporate tax is in excess of 7,20,000 or 7,30,000 crores. The tax collection Union government last year went up by 5 lakh crores above the budget estimate. And a large part of that was because of corporate tax cuts where compliance went up and the government got more money. And I think it's important for these people who lie through their teeth to understand because it's not being given to any single person. And, you know, if he says that it's been given to one group, they're lying to a thief. They're lying to a thief. Will you please shut up? I'm speaking.
One at a time,
you.
one at a
Please
time,
keep quiet.
please. One at a time. Jasmine,
Please
please.
keep quiet.
Mr. Pai,
And,
yeah, finish your point.
As far as jobs go,
Yeah.
Zakka, as far as jobs go, the gentleman should look at data. For the last 3.5 years, the EPFO organization, where every company with more than 20 employees have to pay EPFO, there is a contribution paid every month, given a monthly report about the total new joinees to the system. And they say every month now 9 lakh people are joining the system, out of which 4.5 lakh people are the age group of 20 to 25. And, you know, these are first jobs. Government creates all across the country 7 lakh jobs. Totally, we can track about 1 crore to 1.2 crore jobs in this country that's being created to the EPFO and through the ESI. And the data is there. by gender, by age group, by industry, by state,
Okay.
given for the last
Let-
36 months.
let-
and these
let-
people who
let
claim to
Adil-
be literate,
let Adil
but
respond to
analyze
that.
the data and talk about jobs and not go on
I think
screaming
the SBI.
jobless growth.
I think the SBI
Zakka,
report.
let me finish.
Yeah.
Zakka, please let me finish.
Okay.
Zakka, let me finish.
Okay.
Zakka,
Yes.
freebies are not about giving food subsidy, education subsidy, health subsidy. I think gentleman from TMC was the most reasonable. A welfare state has to make sure the poor people get food, poor people get education, poor people get health. This is about TVs. This is about giving 1,000 rupees to every woman in Punjab. This is about giving free power.
Okay.
Power should be given at subsidized rates and not free. Water should be given at subsidized rate. Even if they pay 20 rupees a month, it is fine because you can track the use of water. This culture of giving everything free, that is a freebie. Water and power, charge them a little bit like southern states are doing.
No,
I think the gentleman must understand it is not his grandfather's money that is giving away. It's the taxpayers' money, and taxpayers
Let me ask Adil. Adil, I'm coming to you. Adil, the question is, EPFO numbers are there. I think the SBI report on EPFO over the last 2 years has tracked 70 to 75 lakh new subscribers who have joined the EPFO, which are jobs in the formal sector. The number of jobs created in the informal sector, which is not part of the EPFO database, would be much higher. So for you to say that joblessness is still high or record high, that doesn't keep pace with the EPFO figures.
Zakka, the previous speaker is delusional. I repeat, he is delusional. He is living in an alternate reality. Ask him to go 100 kilometers from Delhi to any part in Western Uttar Pradesh or Rajasthan and give this data. More than 3/4 of our country is in the informal sector. There is a widening chasm between the rich and the poor. A person who owns 20,000 rupees is not interested in listening to this mindless nonsense of so-called economists. He is concerned with how much money he has to pay for petrol, diesel, milk, tea, and oil. Today, all those items are at a sky high. Post the pandemic, joblessness has increased. I think the previous speaker is trying to be even more loyal than the king, because even the RBI chairman is bearish. Even he says that the inflation is at an unmanageable level. So you can continue to please the government, but the fact of the matter is that the common man is reeling today. Please see it from the point of view of somebody from the lower middle class who's earning 25,000 rupees a month. More than 15 to 17,000 goes into just his basic amenities. What is he going to feed his child? How is he going to send him to school? I think that's the problem. The BJP and their lackeys are living in a cozy environment where they're just not familiar with the reality. I think that's where the problem lies.
No, so the political, moving away from the economic to the political argument, and the question that I'm going to ask Dr. Sen of the TMC is that if price rise, unemployment, these were the real issues in breaking the back of the middle class and the lower middle class in this country, Dr. Shantanu Sen, why is it then that the BJP is winning election after election? In the recently concluded state assembly elections also, they won 4 out of 5.
On the contrary, I must tell you, in last few years, 19 allies of NDA, they have left BJP. The presence of BJP has significantly come down from 75% to around 40-42%. So far the vote share is concerned, if you calculate, yeah, BJP is winning, that's fair enough. Because the process of winning we know. The way they are dismantling the stable government everywhere. The way they have been utilizing the central agencies, particularly against the opposition leaders. The way they are trying to purchase votes, and the way they are trying to purchase the leaders as well from different other opposition political parties. Now it has been crystal clear to the entire country. BJP, the final bell has started ringing. You can clearly read the wall writing. Just wait for 1.5 years. Let the parliament election take place in 2024. When all the oppositions will get united and they will be giving a big thrust to BJP, then they will realize what is what. Because entire country is burning. People are not having food. Highest employment is in last 45
Zakka,
years.
may I?
Sir,
Skyrocketing of essential commodities.
if I may, with your permission, the fact is that during 2 years of lockdown or 1.5 years of lockdown, I have not come across, at least it's not been reported in the mainstream media, of people dying because of starvation. People have died because of COVID, people have died because of lack of oxygen, but I have not come across an instance of people dying because of lack of food.
You just
but,
go through.
but anyway,
the hunger index.
be that as it may,
Yes,
be that as it may.
One second.
Okay.
During COVID, you have seen dead bodies floating.
Ma'am, 1 second. I'll come back to you. Have 30 seconds patience, ma'am. I'm coming back to you. Yeah, Dr. Shantanu said, finish your point. 30 seconds. Yes.
No,
I believe you remember you have seen dead bodies floating on the rivers during COVID. And so far the hunger index is concerned, just see the statistics, see the ranking of India in the hunger index.
Okay.
You
You made that point. Okay,
understand.
Sanju Verma now to
People
respond.
are dying
Yes.
of food.
Okay, Sanju Verma to respond.
Zakka, first and foremost, let me make it very clear that despite 2 black swan events, we had a black swan event called the COVID pandemic in more than 100 years. We had the second black swan event called the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Despite that, India was the fastest growing economy last year at 8.7%, and the IMF says even this year at 7.4%, India will be the fastest growing economy. So I think the Congress, the Aam Aadmi Party and the Trinamool Congress spokespeople need to educate themselves. Today, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, at more than 45 crore bank accounts, India has the world's largest financial inclusion scheme called the Jan Dhan Yojana. India has the world's largest health insurance scheme called Ayushman Bharat. Garib Kalyan Yojana, which was feeding more than 81 crore people every month during the COVID lockdown, is the world's largest food security program. We have built more than 11 crore toilets under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It is the world's largest sanitation program. The Congress spokesperson was sitting and giving me a bhashan. Salt ka daam itna hua hai. Onion prices have gone up this much. Let me tell you, sanitation rate under Congress was 39%. Rural network coverage was just 54%. Banking coverage was just 51% under Congress. Electricity coverage was just 47%. Today, under Narendra Modi, sanitation coverage, rural electricity coverage, rural road coverage, banking coverage is close to 100%. And let me tell you,
But ma'am, will all of this make up for price rise, or will all of this make up for lack of jobs? That's the question opposition is asking. No, please answer the question. All of this is great. All of this is fine, but will it make up for price rise? Will it make up for lack of jobs? That's what the opposition is asking. Yeah.
I'm coming to that. In India, price rise has already peaked out, which is what the numbers of the last 2 months show. Core inflation has come down to 6%. And the most important thing is that with the RBI deciding to hike repo rate, excess liquidity is being sucked out. And I think by the next year, maybe first quarter or so, inflation should come down to 5% or thereabouts.
Okay.
Speaking of jobs, I just want to add a small thing to what Mr. Mohandas Pai said. Actually, Mr. Pai has been very conservative, and he's saying, 7 crore jobs have been added. There is another report which says that every month, as per EPF or Zakka, 13 lakh people are being registered, which means every year 1.56 crore, which means in the last 7 to 8 years, more than 12 crore people have entered the formal sector.
Okay.
The Congress is only talking rhetoric.
Okay, let Jasmine Shah respond to that. You've made your point, ma'am. I've given you uninterrupted time. Let Jasmine Shah now respond, please. Yes. Jasmine.
Zakka, what is happening is, the BJP spokespeople very neatly cherry picking numbers. You can cite EPFO data, but there's a reason why it's called EPFO data and not the unemployment data for the entire country that represents every sector. Because if you were to look at that, the data for June alone by CMIE, which is one of the most rigorous surveys, shows that in just 1 month, 13 million jobs have been lost, majority of them in the rural areas. Does your EPFO data collect that? No. Second, tell me today, as we're entering into the 75th year, can we at least agree as a country that education and health must be the top priority? And like the Kejriwal government spends in Delhi, 25% of the budget is being spent in education, 15% in health. The average all over the country is 10 or 12%. Can BJP, can all other parties agree that आप बोलते रहते हैं कि education, health, but you are never willing to spend? You charge fees even from government school students, but you have no qualms spending money on loan waivers, corporate tax cuts, forgiving the loans of your friends. So please, when you talk about education and health, please walk the talk. Please agree first of spending 25% of your budget in education,
Okay.
not charging a single student a fee.
I'll give the final word to Mr. Pai. Mr. Pai, 1 minute. I have to wrap up in 1 minute. Yeah, final word.
Zakka, again, the gentleman
Mr. Pai, yeah.
is lying because in Delhi is a special case. The cost of the police in Delhi is borne by all of us outside Delhi. The union government spent a lot of money on other programs, on infrastructure, everything Delhi government does not spend. So let us not say Delhi is a model, because Delhi is a special case where all of us spend money to keep the Delhiites in good humor. Punjab is the classical case. How much money in Punjab is spent on health and education? That is the classical case. If the AAP government is able to increase it to 40% like he says in Delhi, hats off to them. They should rule the whole country because they would have done a fantastic job. But Punjab is broke. They're not able to keep the promise of 1,000 rupees per woman. Anyway, that's a different issue.
Okay.
Now, Zakka, we should understand one important thing before we sign off. Subsidy to people who are poor for food, education, health is required. I don't think anybody should grudge. Freebies like TV, giving 1,000 rupees per woman, every woman in a state, these are all wrong, and these freebies should be stopped.
All right.
We must put money into infrastructure, job creation, into higher education, skill development, to make sure people get jobs and economic advancement.
All right.
Freebies should stop. Subsidies are okay.
I'm afraid I have to wrap up the debate on that note. I want to thank all our guests. We've had a 40-minute discussion. Ma'am, I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much. But I'm sure that this is the battle line that's been drawn politically also by the Prime Minister for 2024. It's the politics, or as he put it, the politics of freebies on the one hand versus the politics of performance on the other. We'll take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll shift focus to the China-Taiwan situation. And China has ended its military drills around the Taiwan Straits, but it is still keeping the suspense up over a potential blockade or even an outright invasion of the island nation.